Good day to you. Welcome to the Point Forward Podcast, Milwaukee Bucks chatter from the Milwaukee Sentinel. My name is JR Radcliffe. I am joined by my colleague, Jim Owczarski. He covers the Milwaukee Bucks for the Sentinel. And Jim, guess what? I'm panicking real bad. The Bucks just lost to the Charlotte Hornets. Charlotte Hornets are quite bad. They lost to them on Wednesday, November 12th. This was a game without Giannis, so that's entirely forgivable, I think. They also barely 2 days earlier survived against the Dallas Mavericks, a team that is also really, really quite bad. Although Cooper Flag is there, but they just fired their GM, and thanks to some missed free throws at the end by the Mavericks, the Bucks avoided going to overtime. They get the dub. That's what matters. They're 7-5. They're the 7th seed in the Eastern Conference in the very early, small sample Eastern Conference standings. They are not much better than teams that are in the play-in or even a little below at this point. And the injuries are piling up. So we're gonna start with the injuries because they had a real bad development this week. And I mean, honestly, multiple bad developments. Giannis doesn't play against Charlotte, which I think most people probably don't assume is that big a deal. I don't know if that's a safe assumption, but that happens from time to time. But AJ Green leaves that game, doesn't finish. But more than anything else, Taurean Prince with a herniated disc in his neck. I mean, that's danger territory. That's maybe not coming back again in the season territory. I don't know if that's how bad this is, but that's a tough one. Out indefinitely. What does that do for the Bucks? What does it mean? They're already missing dudes. How big of a deal is that?
Yeah, it's a purely sort of local story, JR, right? Like
Oh yeah.
Prince is not a guy who's going to move the needle nationally, but look, the Bucks constructed this team around depth, right? Like the quote unquote high end all-star talent is no more, at least currently, right? And they're going to make up for that with, of course, Giannis, one of the best players in the world, and then, up to 10 guys, so 9 other players that can shoot a bunch of threes, defend hard, play hard. And the issue when you do that is when those guys start to get hurt, the floor lowers a little bit. Like the bench, there's a reason it's a bench, and those guys, they're just not as good, and or they're maybe asked to do other things that they can't do. They're exposed a little more, right? And they're already dealing with that with Kevin Porter Jr., who played 9 minutes of the first game, right? That was back on October 22nd. We're not going to see him maybe until December, right? At least 4 weeks from a surgery on that right knee, and we got to see how he comes back from that, right? Like, we can't just assume that's going to go great or what it's going to look like. But Prince specifically, JR, yeah, we don't really know what happened. He took a hard foul and an illegal screen in that Pacers game from Tony Bradley. He played the next night in Toronto. Didn't really see like trauma, if you will. And then, suddenly it was a neck sprain. And then suddenly it's a herniated disc. And Doc Rivers has just said, like, it's not great. Hoping to know more here soon. It's in his neck. I don't know the difference between, the disc issues Brooke Lopez had back, in I think the 22-23 season, JR, where he missed, the last few months of the year, but was back and rusty for the playoffs. But Prince matters for the Bucks. Like, there's two things. One, he's shooting 43% from three, JR. Aside from AJ Green, like, if Taurean caught and shot, like, you thought it was going in. I mean, he's been one of the best 3-point shooters in basketball the last 2+ seasons. He always knew where to be spacing wise. Giannis had obviously implicit trust with where he was going to be. Defensively, not maybe the lockdown guy, right, at 31 years old, but he was 6'8", and they missed that size against Houston and against Dallas when they've been out rebounded, right? When it would have been nice to have Taurean Prince give Cooper Flag a little bit of a run, or Tari Eason a little bit, or Ahmed, right? Like, he's the big wing. And they just don't have that guy. Like, Amir Coffey's 6'7", but he's not the same type of player on either side of the ball, JR. So, you're already down your starting point guard, and whatever people want to feel about Kevin Porter Jr., he's their starting point guard. So then you shift up Ryan Rollins, who's been a revelation, and then you shift up Cole Anthony, who has not played well in a couple weeks. Now Taurean's out, so now you're shifting up Amir Coffey, who has basically been a statistical zero offensively. And Doc Rivers went so far as to mention Andre Jackson Jr. might play some more, which would, shows you how far they're going down the depth chart here, JR, because Andre didn't play once Kevin Porter Jr. came last year. So, yeah, the depth is hurt, and it hurts this team. And obviously, you mentioned Giannis being out against the Hornets. That was sort of predetermined. 5 games in 7 days. This is the one in the middle. It's not a cup game, which I know you love. The team cares about it. So he was going to be ready to play in a cup game on Friday. But that's the thing. You're missing 2 of the other 8 guys you'd be relying on to score points, JR, and creating offense was an issue. So, yeah, like the injuries, look, it's not Jalen Brunson. It's not Darius Garland. It's not Paolo Banchero. Like, the good news is that it's not Giannis. But it's a starter, and it's your 7th and 8th, 9th man who makes 3-pointers on volume, and that's an issue for this team.
Here's why that Hornets loss really worries me. Because first of all, like you said, they love the cup, and on Friday they're going to welcome Charlotte, which is still not a great team, and they're going to destroy them because Giannis will play, and it's the NBA Cup, and they love that cup, and they are going to handle Charlotte very, very easily. So I am not worried in a vacuum about the Milwaukee Bucks losing to the Charlotte Hornets, but Giannis doesn't play. They lose by 11. Realistically, what it was 18. Like, it wasn't an 11-point game. Yeah. So they didn't really have a chance in the second half. And you couple that with the loss to Houston, which obviously that's a tough matchup for a lot of teams. I thought they played okay. They kind of fizzled down the stretch. Not a game you get too worked up about. But then Dallas really almost losing to that one. And knowing that they don't have that star power, like you're talking about, they cannot play without Giannis and expect to beat anybody. If they can't beat Charlotte and get blown out, they probably can't beat many teams. I know they've won a game without Giannis this year, but I think that's going to be the aberration, the exception, even though it was Golden State. I feel like this team can't do it with the current amount of star power that they have. Maybe that calculus changes when Kevin Porter comes back, if he comes back full strength, but they're not going to be able to get fat on lesser teams and build a cushion and not need Giannis in crunch time. And they've done a good job of limiting his minutes, and I'm sure they'll continue to do that. But like, it feels like a unsustainable situation when kind of the entire, even getting to the playoffs requires Giannis, and Giannis has to be there, or they're just going to have such a hard time winning games. And I feel like that's just a recipe to be a play-in team, 7th seed, 8th seed. That's probably
look, the non, we talked about this at the start of the year. The non-Giannis minutes,
bad
focus of John Horst and Doc Rivers through camp, right? When Giannis was out with COVID. It's a concern is the right word, but definitely a big question going into the season. And Kevin Porter Jr. being down is a huge issue there. For sure, because he is their second best. Maybe now with Ryan Rollins, maybe you could say two-way shot creator, right? Because now we know Ryan can kind of do that. But Kevin for sure could do it. And look, we mentioned the Golden State win without Giannis. Taurean Prince, 18 minutes, 10 points. And that's also gone, right? And so that's what's going to make it hard. Like, Cole Anthony can't go 2 for 12, and Kyle Kuzma can't go 3 for 15. Like, basically, for the Bucks to win games without Giannis on the floor, these guys don't have to score 30. They just can't score 5, right? Mm-hmm. And like they need to be aware of getting AJ Green shots, getting Gary Trent Jr. shots, which are different. It's harder because Giannis creates open looks for those guys, but they're capable NBA players. Like, AJ Green should not shoot it 4 times. Gary Trent shouldn't shoot it 5 times. Like, that's just not the way they're going to win. And clearly they beat the Warriors doing the ball movement thing. 8 different players scored in double figures. Obviously Rollins had the one, the big game. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, Giannis, look, he knocked knees with Mikal Bridges way back on October 28th, right? And he's been fouled hard. He grabbed that knee in Indiana. He was fouled hard again in Dallas. Clearly the word is out around the league, JR, that you can tackle him and send him hard to the floor, and the league is just, the officials are just going to let it happen. And so, I don't know if he'll be, 100% going forward, but yeah, you're right, JR. Like without Porter, I would say the next 3.5 weeks, the games Giannis misses, and he is going to miss some, are going to be, not rough, but like everyone's got to play better, and easier obviously said than done, depending who that is and the matchup. But yeah, it's something they've just got to figure out, with Porter down, Prince down, like how best to do that, besides just ball movement. They that was their thing in Charlotte. Hey, the ball didn't move. We got to one pass possessions. That's not how this team's going to win, even with Giannis, JR. But yeah, they need to really dive into that tape, and work on that. Giannis should be good to go, the next 3-4 games. But then there's another 5 and 7 type of situation against real teams: Detroit, Miami, the Knicks, like the teams that are above them in the East, where he's going to want to be ready to go. So how do you win maybe that game against Portland on Monday the 24th at home, right? Like, what do you do there if he needs a breather? They've got to figure that out and figure it out pretty quickly.
Shouts to both Con Knipple, Wisconsin native, who he had 16 points, but he's been playing really, really well for the Hornets in his first season, number 4 overall pick, highest Wisconsin high school player picked in the modern draft. And Pat Connaughton, who scored 11 points, hit a couple 3-pointers over his old team. That was fun to see him again. Mason Plumlee, was he a Buck? I can't remember which Plumlees were Bucks.
Well, yeah, one of the Plumlees was.
One of the Plumlees was. Pretty sure it wasn't Mason, but another guy. Just shouts to him just because he's a Plumlee. Do you think the Bucks have gotten enough out of Myles Turner? It's only 12 games, and I don't know if I expected his scoring to maintain from his days in Indiana. He's getting older. He doesn't, he wasn't brought here to be an offensive juggernaut. I wonder the amount of money they've given him, though. Like, I didn't think he would be the second best player on this team necessarily, but I figured he'd be close to that, and maybe arguably he is close to that. Do you think there's a little concern with what you've seen from him?
No. I mean, I'll be honest, I am a little surprised. I did think he would be scoring more. I mean, the average is a little low. I mean, he started the year, JR, in a pretty bad shooting slump. He's up to 36% shooting from 3, but just 43% overall. Like many Bucks, struggling at the free throw line, 69%. But he's 2 blocks a game. He's disrupting some shots there, as he's want to do. Rebounding is on par, with what he's done. Maybe a little low. But yeah, I mean, he's averaging 1 fewer shot, or 1.5, in some years in Indy recently, JR. I mean, you got to go back 3-4 years where he averaged fewer than the 10 he's putting up now. And some of that is Giannis. Giannis is leading the league in shots, 2-point shots as well. Like, they've played a lot together, on purpose. Doc has wanted those 2 guys on the court at the same time. So if Giannis is putting up 20 and Myles is out, like, what do there aren't many shots for him. So, maybe we'll see some staggering here as Doc tries to figure out, right? Like, what do you do when Giannis is off the floor, or some of these rebounding issues they're having. But yeah, obviously Myles shot 39% from 3 last year, down from that, but kind of right. He's getting close to that career average and where he's been, the last 4 seasons. So, it's interesting because I think anywhere else, JR, the top free agent signing, the $100 million deal, it'd be like, wow, why isn't he scoring 20 points a game? I don't know if that was ever the intent or the thought. But I do think specifically, like you mentioned, the Charlotte game, like he did score. He had 23 points, right? Or 21 points. Like that's important when Giannis is gone or out. But yeah, it would be kind of good to see him doing some stuff. And maybe they unlock something, JR. Their last game together was obviously there was the Dallas game, but the one at home is what I'm thinking of, where they thought, well, hey, maybe you're picking and popping too much, roll to the rim dive. We saw him go up for another poster dunk, which we hadn't seen since the first game of the season. So maybe there's still an adjustment period there, JR, with finding what he likes and where he likes it, which isn't an odd thing for a free agent guy coming in and trying to play with a guy like Giannis.
Let me ask you about two other guys. Bobby Portis, kind of his usage has gone way down. Like he's still hitting 3-point shots when he takes them, but his scoring has plummeted as we've seen less of him on the floor. I think that maybe is a little bit out of his hands. I know he still fires people up in Bucks Twitter land. Sometimes there's some frustration with Bobby Portis, and you're not really seeing a whole lot from him. Gary Trent, his shooting has gone way down. His scoring not so much, but his usage is way up. He's playing like 3 more minutes a game, and you're only getting 10 points out of him. And I feel like in the absence of other guys, probably want to see a little more scoring there. Give me your thoughts on those two guys.
Yeah, well, with Bobby, he's one of the guys, like, I mean, Kuzma's minutes had gone up in the last week. Bobby is playing 20 minutes a game, JR. The fewest he has played since the championship season, 20.8. It's the same. We have not seen, like, obviously he was almost 30 a game 4 years ago, 26, 24, 25. Like, so 5 minutes is a long time in terms of like your raw numbers. 8.5 shots a game, again, is fewest since he was with the Knicks back in 1920.
To be clear, not the year 1920, 2019, 2020.
Yeah, the 2019-20 season. So just the volume isn't there for Bobby currently. And, some of that I think is the way they're trying to play. Like the Bobby Portis post up, pound the dribble 6 times into a baseline fade is not really what they're looking for. Now we can argue, that game against Charlotte, should that be a part of non-Giannis games or non-Giannis minutes? Like, we know Bobby. Yeah, could he do that, or is it one of those where it's like, oh no, you want everyone playing the same way no matter what? So that doing that fundamentally breaks what you're trying to do for the other, 25 minutes of that game, right? So, I think for Bobby, you're right. He's shooting 39% from 3, which is a great bounce back from last year when he was just around 36%. So that's great. About 3.5 threes a game. That's about where he's been back in 21-22. JR was almost at 5 threes a game. Like, I'm sure they'd love to get to that number, but again, he's playing 5 less minutes. Now, Gary Trent's interesting. Gary, I think, is a streakier shooter, I feel like, than AJ Green. And I think that shows you like the percentages, right? Like, they're both averaging 6.3 threes a game. AJ's making 46%. Gary's making 36. But like, Gary could also make 7 in a game and just get hot. And so, I think Gary's putting up 8 shots a game. Like, he's just not making, like, 36% is okay. He needs to be around 40. Let's be honest. And the 37% overall, JR, not good. Like, his forays into the paint are a wonder to behold. He gets to the paint. He's just not the most articulate finisher around the rim. Let's just put it that way. And, and so he doesn't need shots created for him all the time. But I do think he's a volume type of guy, JR. And again, let's go to the Charlotte game. 5 attempts is not enough.
No, not even close. 29 minutes and 5 attempts.
Yeah, Giannis was not playing, but Gary is the guy who could get hot and give you 18 to 22, right? So, you like to see him kind of catch fire again. AJ went into like a 2-game and a quarter, so a 9-quarter shooting slump, if you will, and then probably made 4 more threes, right? Like he's, Trent, Gary Trent has kind of been in a little bit of a funk, I would say, the last probably since the Indiana game. 3 for 10 in that game. He's shooting 34%, JR, his last 6 games. So he's kind of in one right now, and maybe to me, the only way you get out of that is you just kind of keep giving him the ball. Two threes against Charlotte, not good enough. 3 threes against Dallas, not good enough. Like, he's a shooter, get him the ball. And I think that just speaks to it illustrates way back in the preseason, Giannis was like, if we're going to win, it's team wins and it's ball movement and it's 5 or 6 guys scoring double figures. And the only way you do that is if those guys shoot a bunch of threes. So it sounds easier said than done, obviously. But to your point, like, I think Bobby's numbers are more, to me, JR, about fewer minutes. Gary is definitely, they need to find him more shots going forward here, because he's clearly kind of going through a little bit of a slump.
Do I need to learn more about Pete Nance after he scored 10
Pete
points?
Nance is a very nice man. I mean, he's I would say he's probably one of the nicer gentlemen I've come across. Yes.
Shouts to you, Pete Nance, and your 4 for 5 performance in just over 4 minutes in garbage time against the Hornets last night. You had a very nice performance. You're a very nice man, and you're tall, 6'11".
Yeah.
And I mean, like, I don't mean to pick on Myles Turner and Bobby Portis in this Charlotte game specifically. They played well. It's just Trent only taking 5 shots, only 2 from beyond the arc. Kyle Kuzma having an off shooting night. And these are not guys when you say, oh, if they're off, you have no chance. But when Giannis isn't playing, it kind of works that way. There's just nobody to pick up the slack. There's Ryan Rollins having another really nice night. I can't believe Ryan Rollins is basically their second best player. That's kind of where we are all of a sudden. And when Kyle Kuzma isn't like dialed in, which Kyle Kuzma, who I was not thinking about at all coming into this season.
Yeah.
That's just where we are with the injuries and kind of how.
Yeah. And look, Kyle has helped them win games, and he had an off night in Charlotte. And look, I mentioned Amir Coffey's been sort of a statistical zero. I mean, JR, he's 1 of 7. He shot 7 3-pointers in 12 games. Like, that's not a thing on this Bucks team. If he's going to be out there, granted, he is not playing heavy minutes. He's played more of late. But that's just not, you've got to shoot it, right? And Doc kind of mentioned, well, like, he's trying to figure out where he needs to be. And okay, that's fine. Like, maybe he was, your 10th man and, whatever at the very start of the year. But look, they cut Chris Livingston to roster Amir, a veteran who Doc has known for years, played with Ty Lue. He's always been a low volume 3-point shooter. It was a nice percentage in LA, JR, but he wasn't a guy put on 4 or 5, and he's just got to shoot it. I don't know what else to say. You just got to shoot it. Scoring a total of 18 points in 12 games. Like, I mean, okay, maybe you could. I don't know. You can't really live with that. It's just, you got to put it up a little bit and be that threat. If the ball comes to you out there, I think the team would much rather have a chance at a long offensive rebound than, you pull the ball down and try to dribble it and then restart everything. The point of the offense is, if you're over there spacing, in order for that to be respected, it's like the ball's got to go up. So with Taurean Prince being down, Porter being down, like, Amir Coffey's numbers, his number is shifted up in the rotation, JR. He's got to play a little bit. He's got to shoot it. Is he a factor in wins and losses? Like, might be now, right? We'll see. If he's going to be playing 15 minutes a game, you can't be he's a minus 31, JR, in his 12 games. Like, that's not, that's with various combinations and stuff. You can't be, got to be a little better than that. So, that group effort and needs to be the group, when you're dealing with a couple rotation guys being down. And AJ Green says he'll be fine, good to go. We'll see what the injury report says, a little later tonight, JR. But, if AJ is somehow compromised in that shooting arm, like that's not good. Right. So, they've got to have all these guys participate.
We have to talk a little about Giannis. This is the second podcast in a row where a really cool game was like the first one out of the gate, and many things have happened since then. Last time it was the Golden State game. This time it is that Chicago Bulls win in the NBA Cup. They turn the floor green, and the Bucks put on their best because something happens to them when they get into these NBA Cup games. Giannis Antetokounmpo, 41 points, 15 rebounds, 9 assists, 2 steals. Ridiculous. I don't have a question. I just have a statement. And the statement is Giannis Antetokounmpo. I tried to find, I guess, numbers that were like trying to illustrate that, he's better than ever, yet again. We do this every single year. Giannis is better than he's ever been. Giannis is better than he's ever been. I think the bar is actually too high where we can't even do that anymore. Can't quite do that anymore. But he is scoring more than he ever has before. He's an unbelievable tour de force per usual. And in that Bulls game, man, unbelievable. He's just so freaking good at this. So that's it, Jim. That is my question. It is a statement. Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah, look, his minutes have crept up these last few games. Doc has changed up the rotations a little bit, so he's playing a little bit more of late. We'll see, how long that lasts. Like, if I don't think they want him playing 37 minutes a game right now, but regardless, he is, shooting it 20 times a game. Most of them are at the rim. ESPN, I think, says he's dunking almost 6 times a game, which apparently is an important thing. I don't know. But while the free throw shooting has not been good and he isn't getting all the calls he has earned, he's still averaging the most free throw attempts in the league, leading the league in scoring. The rebounds and assists are sort of right there. I think the assists, I think, might come up a little bit, JR, if more guys can get some shots, obviously. But
That'd be nice.
I think he's creating a bunch of open looks. It's different than Joker. A lot of Jokic's assists are on cuts to the rim and dunks and lobs. Giannis, is looking for guys to make 3-pointers, and it's just really hard for guys to make 10 to 11 threes a game, right? And so it's just, I don't know if we'll see the 9 assists maybe average for Giannis, but yeah, it's been incredible. Like 62% from the field, and that was with him slumping for a couple of games. Like, he's the only one to ever average 30 on 60 shooting. He's done it twice the last 2 years, only one in history. He's doing stuff that it's like Oscar, Wilt, and Kareem, are those are the guys, right? Moses Malone is in there somewhere for one of these categories he's in. So it's pretty remarkable. And yeah, what's funny, he's shooting 50% from 3, JR, 6 for 12, I want to say. So the one in Charlotte, or the one in Dallas at 41 seconds that Cooper Flagg took and kind of stuck it down his throat the other way. Maybe that was the one bad decision on the 3. But he's kind of like picking and choosing his spots on that one too, which is good to see. Yeah, he's been fantastic. And JR, look, is this team gonna win 48 or 50 games? I don't know, but it reminds me of the Jokic year, JR, when he won MVP and the Nuggets were like a 4-5 seed, something like that. Because they looked at the roster like, oh, look at this. And I'll be curious if the goalposts move on Giannis on that one. Like if it was good enough for Joker, but not enough for him, we'll see. But he's having that kind of year, man. It's pretty remarkable.
Bucks will face Giannis will face Luka in a battle of MVP frontrunners 15% into the season on November 15th. That's Saturday for the next 5 games for the Bucks, all at home. As mentioned, that group stage game against the Hornets Friday, followed by the Sega Baba against the Lakers, second game of a back-to-back.
I mean, you're hoping Luka plays. I mean, the Lakers are playing. The Lakers are playing the night before in New Orleans, and granted, the Pelicans suck, but that's a cup game. And why the league? I mean, the NBA, they have not figured out how to schedule this stuff, JR. Like they insist on these games being on Wednesdays and Fridays, and that insistence just jams up everything else. Like, let's say LeBron was healthy, JR. Like, they're playing the night before in a game that the league effectively mandates all of their star players be available for. Then they're getting on a plane. They're going to get in Milwaukee 2-3 in the morning. Who like if you were JJ Redick, like why would you play Luka? Like seriously, like why would you?
Yeah, I don't
Right?
know.
Or if LeBron was healthy, like it doesn't matter. It's an Eastern Conference team. It's a back to back. I don't know. It's like obviously Giannis has now played 2 back-to-backs so far. JR, like I would assume he'll want to go and be able to go against the Lakers, but you know, what if he sat out, right? Like I don't know. I don't know why the league does that. So that's an NBA problem, JR. Like it's just kind of crappy for the fans of all the teams involved. Like that's just, why do that? And it's just make the court, and once you do that, everyone knows what it is, right? Why does it have to be a Wednesday, Thursday? I know you're not in there being like Wednesday, Thursday, let's circle those cup games.
That's
But if
absolutely
you
correct.
just saw the court, you would know what it is, right? And that it just messes up the early part of the schedule, JR. And you get these weird back-to-backs and 6 and 9s and 5 and 7s that just really kind of jam up the rest of the competitiveness, which sort of counteracts what they're trying to do with the tournament itself.
I'm not circling any dates on the calendar that involve the NBA Cup. Yes, you're right. One team plays Charlotte, the other team plays New Orleans, and then you've got Lakers Bucks, which would be a good matchup under normal circumstances. Less than 24 hours later, that's very, very stupid. The Bucks will travel to Cleveland. That's not a small matchup on November 17th. That's a Monday. Then they are home for 3 straight games: 76ers, Pistons, Trailblazers with Damian Lillard, sort of, and then Drew Holiday as well. So that's kind of fun matchup as well. Real quickly before we get out of here, Victor Oladipo signed with the Wisconsin Herd. He's not like technically, he's not really like strictly affiliated with the Bucks, but is like in the orbit now. And he's famously the other guy from Giannis's draft class who had a really nice career. I mean, there's a couple more names that maybe fit that bill. Can he help them? He's only 33 years old, but he's had a lot of knee issues. It's probably, I think his NBA days are probably behind him. But if the Bucks fall short of bodies, fall short of difference makers, they're going to have to look in non-traditional places to replace those guys until they get to a trade deadline. What do you think of him? Does he have any run left in him, do you think?
Man, I mean, first of all, it's a great story that he's even playing, like just for fans to know. Like the last time anyone saw Victor was in that playoff series, Bucks Heat. Like that's when he ruptured his knee.
Yeah.
And that was back in 22-23, and he played 42 games that year. And yeah, JR, I mean, he hasn't played a full season since 2017-18. He has torn his quads and his knees and, all that stuff. And it's an incredible, like, athletic willpower story to even be in the G League. But you can tell where I'm going with that setup. I mean, he's 33. He'd be the second oldest player on the team. The Bucks have moved away from signing those kind of guys. And, I mean, look, could they use a ball handler? Sure. Like, could Vic maybe make some threes? Maybe. I mean, career 34% shooter, and we're going back years now. JR on low volume. Like, you'd have to waive a player and sign him, and maybe someone shouting, like, well, they don't play Gary Harris. True, but Gary Harris also hasn't had his legs rebuilt. And he's younger. So I don't know. It sounds like a really nice story. Maybe a team would sign him, but it just, maybe if the Bucks had kept 14 roster spots, or if there were different rules with the 2 ways, JR, but like to waive a guaranteed deal, eat that money, sign him to a guaranteed deal, and then literally his legs are ticking time bombs, JR. Like if he were to go down again, then what are you doing again, right? Like you're just adding now more and more salaries and waves and things. It doesn't seem like the thing this version of the Bucks should do or would do. But again, great story. I guess you never say never, but it feels like, if he's going to be in the league, it'd be maybe someone else signing him off the herd. But for now, like, hey, big ups to Vic to be able to come back and do this thing, because all those years ago it looked like he was done playing basketball for sure.
He is Jim Owczarski, and like Pete Nance, he's a very nice man, which is why he just used a lot of words to say, it's a no for me, dog. You would not be a good American Idol judge. You would not be a good judge on American Idol. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But he does. He covers the Bucks for the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. Find everything he has at jsonline.com. NBA Cup action. Woo! Get excited. It's coming back on Friday night to Pfizer Forum. The back half of the NBA Cup is actually kind of ridiculous to have two games on either side, both road games on either side of Thanksgiving against two very tough, well, I would say tough opponents. That's tough. That's they're going to have to really
Miami's playing well. I think it's kind of gimmicky what they're doing because they don't have a ton of talent, but it's working, and so we'll see if the Bucks can handle that. And then you're going to New York. I mean, I don't know. Jalen Brunson left MSG in a walking boot and crutches, so if there's no Brunson, that's a much, much different game, for the Knicks. But yeah, I mean, they're still on the road. It's still Miami and New York. Those are not easy places to play. And but the Bucks do care about this thing, JR. They really do. They're the defending champs. It's really interesting to be around them when they talk about Las Vegas and getting back for a third time and all that stuff. Like, they care, and that's all the NBA wanted, was these guys to care, and the Milwaukee Bucks care about it. And so, at the very least, they should be good games.
We've already got one. That's what I'm saying about that. But thank you for listening to this edition of the Point Forward podcast. We'll be back with you again next week. Bye, everybody.